Hello, my friend. Greetings to you in the name of our Lord Jesus Christ. I hope you're well, and I hope the good Lord is taking good care of you. And I believe if you're improving, we thank God. But if you're grieving and you feel you're not yet any better, it's fine. Take your time. Please give yourself time to go through whatever you're going through or whatever emotions that come along. All will be fine. I've just come to give you the assurance that with time, the symptoms will come down and you will improve slowly. So, if you're near someone, you're taking care of someone who is bereaved, please don't panic. Don't get discouraged that you've done whatever you could. You've given all the comforting messages you could, but that person doesn't seem to be improving. Don't get discouraged. Give them time and also give yourself time. I know your words are being appreciated, but sometimes it's just not enough, or it may not make any sense in that very moment. But please be kind to yourself and to the bereaved, and know that everything will pass. So last time we talked about many things, but we ended with the phases of mourning, where I said when the death has just occurred, there is that period of numbness, especially if the death was sudden. You just don't know what to say, what to think, you're just there. And then after that, you get into yearning, where you feel that great passion for your loved one who has died. And there is also disorganization and despair, where you find it so difficult to function in the environment. You feel everybody else is doing okay and has moved on apart from yourself. People have started going back to their places, to their homes, and you're being left alone, so you feel so lonely. And then symptoms like fatigue, like shortness of breath, throat, chest, uh, tightness, and then there is sleep and eating problems. But you could also feel loss of passion. So when you see all that, just know you're in that phase of disorganization and despair. And just as I said before, the time you spend in one phase is not definite. I can't tell you you'll spend this period of time, but all I'm here to tell you is give yourself time. When you see the things, do not panic. Just know that is part of grief. I have gone through them myself, and I'm sure another person will go through them. That's why I have decided to make this video and tell you a few things about my experience. There is also the final one we talked about, reorganization, where a person like the bereaved starts or begins to pull his or her life back together and find meaning after the death of a loved one. I hope that phase comes sooner to you, but if it doesn't, it's still okay. Just as we talked about last time, in the mediators of mourning, the time you're going to take in these phases or in this whole process of healing depends on many factors, and you are unique and you're yourself. But what you can never doubt is, no matter how long it takes, God is there with you and He will see you through. So today we are going to talk about the tasks of mourning. Tasks of mourning, just like they are developmental tasks. Like when a child is growing up, there is a certain stage or a certain certain months where the baby is expected to be sitting, expected to be standing up, expected to be walking, running, talking, etc. Just like we see those physical tasks, they are called developmental tasks. They are also emotional tasks, like where the child is expected to develop trust, that the world is a good place and actually they are safe in it. And as they grow up, they develop independence, like they can do things on their own, but also relate with others. Failure to achieve any of those developmental tasks at a particular stage impairs that child's adaptation to complete similar tasks on a higher level. If the child missed that stage, or the child at the stage where they are supposed to develop trust in people and trust in the world and trust in themselves, if they do not achieve that developmental task, they are going to find it so difficult in future to trust others, for example, and even to trust themselves. So it is important for the child to go through those stages. So that is the same case here. With mourning, adaptation to loss involves four tasks which are essential, and you as a bereaved person, or you who is taking care of that bereaved person, you need to be aware of them and how you can help them. Grief is not only physical, but it is also cognitive, in that it involves a confrontation with and restructuring of thoughts about the deceased, just like how I told you last time, I think in the first video, that when I started I had very many thoughts. I used to blame myself. I felt like everybody else had betrayed me, but with time I kept on confronting those questions. For example, I am responsible for this, but then I would ask how, and I think I did my best. Like, what exactly did I do? So in that, like, a thought would come and I say, but God, where are you? Like, God, do you care? And then I also get another thought, like, yes, God cares and God is with you. So like, you have a number of thoughts, but even those thoughts, some are negative. Actually, most of them are negative, but these tasks involves you coming up with confronting, like that ability to confront those questions that you're having in your mind, or those thoughts, so that you go through these tasks very well and you adapt to the loss. It is a process. I'm again repeating this. It is a process. Healing is a process. It is not a state. So even these tasks require effort. You're not just going to be there. I know that it is hard, for example, to accept. It really took me time to accept that mom is gone and I will never see her again and I will not find her home. But it takes effort for you to accept. Just like I had to keep on telling myself, yes, she's not there, yes, she's not there, but God is with you, and a number of them. So the first task is to accept the reality of the loss. When the death has just occurred, there isn't a lot of sense. There's a lot of questions, and one of the things you will experience is denial. You will deny the reality or the meaning of the loss, or you can even deny that it wasn't even significant. For example, if you lost a father who was not so good to you or was not so close to you, you could deny the significance of this loss by saying that he was not a good father anyway, so I don't lose him. What was he doing for me? Like, so by that, you're just trying to deny the significance of this relationship that you had. But the fact is, you feel pain, which is unexplainable, and you just feel you can't take it all in, so you decide to deny it. You can say she's not dead, he's not dead, or he's coming back, or what, like it cannot be. So accepting requires effort, but it is a task that you have to achieve if you're going to adapt to this loss. Others deny the irreversibility of the death and just say she's coming back, especially the children, the parents who lose children. They go through what Geoffrey talks about, like what he called mummification. Mummification is where a person retains possessions of the deceased, ready for use when he or she returns. Just like I've told you, like if you are a parent and you've lost your child, this child had a room, they had toys, they had clothes. You may decide to keep them aside, like just hoping that when this person comes back, they will use that room again, they will use those toys, and that kind of stuff. So this is okay in the short run, but if it goes on for a long time, I think something is wrong and you really need help. Or if you're the one taking care of someone and then you see they're taking really long, they can't allow anybody to go in the child's room, like you cannot touch a toy that belongs to the deceased and something like that, you need to seek help for them. So accepting is important, to accept both the reality of the death and the irreversibility of it. Like you have to come to the acceptance that your loved one is gone and they are not coming back, at least in this life. There is nothing you can do. There is, no matter how you cry, no matter how you, even if you kill yourself, you will also die, but both of you will not come back. So I wish I could tell it to you in any better way, but that is the truth. As long as they are dead in this life, they are not coming back. But we hope when the Lord comes back the second time, we shall see our loved ones. Acceptance, this acceptance takes time because it involves the physical one, it involves the intellectual, emotional, social, and spiritual aspect. Like you have, if somebody was, you are staying with them in the same house, you have to accept that yes, mom used to sit in this chair, but she's no longer here, so it's okay, another person can sit there. But also the emotional aspect, to believe that okay, she's gone, and you know what, no matter how I do it, I don't have that connection anymore, the social and the spiritual aspects. Now reality sometimes hits hard when you want to pick up that call, that phone, and share some experience with that deceased person, only to remember that he or she is not there. I'll never forget one time I made an order. I had an order which I was delivering here in town at Sham Towers. And after that, I felt like that order had really disturbed me, had really challenged me. And I felt a lot of relief when I took it there, when I delivered it. And it was actually fitting, it was okay, it was actually loved. I felt like I wanted to call this mom of mine because she was my business partner. She's the one who brought me in this business. She taught me how to do this. So I really wanted to call her and tell her, you know what, mom, God has done it again. This order disturbed me, but you see, yeah, I've done it, I've delivered it, and it was well. Only to remember that mom is not there and the phone was not going through. I really cried that day, that evening. I came back not understanding anything. So that reality, those moments will be there when something will happen and you feel like, if I wish he or she was there, I would have shared this with them. Yeah, it's okay to feel that, but the truth is they are not there, and you can just keep telling yourself that she or he is not there. Sometimes you're just there and where you accept, and sometimes you just don't accept. Like I would reach a time where I would say yes, mom is gone, but then other times I would say like, really, I can't believe this. So that kind of middle knowledge, sometimes you accept, sometimes you not, is also expected. But with time, you will find yourself accepting, and it is important to accept that your person, the loved one, is gone and they are not going to return. That is task one. The task two involves processing or working through the pain. You know, just as we talked about in the beginning, grief involves physical, emotional, and behavioral pain, okay? And it is necessary to acknowledge and work through this pain, or it will manifest itself through physical symptoms like a sickness or some form of kind of behavior. So, many people don't want to accept that they are pained or they are in pain, and even those people around us don't want us to show that we are in pain. But let me tell you, if you don't acknowledge and work through this pain, it will not go away. One, you just suppress it and it will keep there, but because it is there and it has gone, it will manifest itself in another thing. For example, pressure. You can get pressure, that high and on pressure, because instead of feeling these emotions, you feel like crying, your heart is heavy, and you let those tears out. You're telling yourself, or somebody is telling you, please keep quiet, it will be okay. And because there is that emotion, those feelings that have been suppressed, you're going to develop, it may not, but it can come out or manifest through a sickness or another disease or some kind of behavior. Like someone can become so rude, like somebody who was so humble and kind, they can become so rude, they just don't want to know, they just don't want to eat. So that kind of thing. going through the pain helps the bereaved to get the grief work done. This is a process. This is work that is mental. That is behavioral. That is physical. So you going through this, it helps you to get it done. One thing my therapist told me, that if you deny these emotions to come, if you keep on denying and suppressing them, you're just not helping yourself. You're actually postponing them for the future, because they will keep coming back until you address them. So, my dear friend, accept and process or acknowledge that there is pain that you need to work on, so that this grief work or the mourning process can be done. Anything that continually allows the person to avoid or suppress this pain can only be expected to prolong the course of mourning. If you were going, for example, to mourn for 1 year, you may end up mourning for 2 or 3 years, just because you have not allowed this pain to come out. Not everyone, however, experiences the same intensity of pain. Just as I told you in the mediators of mourning, or factors that determine how long or to what extent you're going to feel the pain. So here I'm saying that not everyone is going to experience the same intensity of pain. Like, how much pain you feel is not the same way another person will feel, depending on the relationship you had with the deceased. But it is impossible to lose someone you have been attached to without experiencing or expressing some level of pain. Yes, that person may not have been your friend or may not been your best friend, but the fact that you knew them and you had that connection or attachment with them, somehow there is going to be pain. Society usually interferes with this second task and make it more difficult, because they feel uncomfortable with the mourner's feelings, and hence give those messages like, you don't have to cry, you are a man, manage your emotions, you're still young, you can have another child, or you're still young, you will get married again, or some messages like that, because for them they are uncomfortable with your feelings, or they are uncomfortable seeing you in that state of pain or sorrow. So they might give these messages, but in giving these messages, of course they intend good, they are meant to do you good, to help you get over this. But the problem is, such messages, if dispensed by others, just as they usually happen, they are not helpful as they are intended to be. Such comments collude with the mourner's own defenses, leading to denial of the need to grieve as expected. And if you keep telling this person, you're still young, you'll have another child, you'll have another keep quiet, so you're going to make me feel like I don't need to feel this way. Yet it is important for me to acknowledge the pain I have, and I actually feel it, so that I can release it. Okay, grieving is stigmatized sometimes as healthy. So a person who is strong enough is the one that the society would applaud, like they're not crying, they are not, to them the society is like, yeah, they are strong, but you don't know what kind of strength you're talking about. And people can short circuit that task by cutting off their feelings and deny the pain present. Now that is the problem, and I've already explained to you, when you deny or suppress the pain, what actually happens. It's going to come back through another form, like a disease, for example, pressure, or another kind of behavior that was not there, for example, being very rude, and others. John Bowlby, for the psychologists, you know, that guy who developed this attachment theory, said sooner or later, people who avoid all conscious grieving break down. I hope you've heard that sooner or later, people who avoid all conscious grieving break down, usually with some form of depression. So if you're the person near someone who is grieving, I'm sure this is not your intention. You wouldn't like to have your person go through depression just because they did not mourn properly, or they did not process this pain. So if you want to help any person or your loved one go through this difficult task of processing the pain, don't deny them to do what? To feel the pain, to just to be like the way they are feeling. If they want to cry, let them cry. If they want to question, let them question, as long as you're there for them. Don't encourage them to do what? To avoid or suppress the pain. They will just carry that pain throughout their lives, and that is the worst you can want to see in your loved one. And the third task is to adjust to a world without the deceased. Now, this is also hard, but it is possible with God. Now, to adjust to a world without the disease involve the three areas. One, the external adjustments, how the death affects one's everyday function in the world. Internal adjustments, how you see, like how the death has affected your sense of self or one's sense of self. And the spiritual adjustments, how the death has affected one's beliefs, values, and assumptions about the world, and probably about God. And when we talk about the external adjustments, we are meaning like somebody being comfortable living their lives around the environment or in that environment. It may just as we are saying, like adjustments a bereaved person needs to make include the external adjustments. For example, it may take 3 to 4 months for widows to realize what it is like to live without their husbands. That's why I say this task or this mourning is a process. It's not a state. The survivor usually is not aware of all the roles played by the deceased until some time after the loss occurs. And I remember I talked about it in the second video. Like sometimes you may not realize that you actually lost a playmate. You may not actually realize that you lost a cook. You lost a babysitter at the time of death. But with time, you get to understand. And there is a quote by Pax who said that in any bereavement, it is seldom clear what is lost. A loss of a spouse, for example, may or may not mean the loss of a sexual partner, companion, accountant, gardener, babysitter, audience, like somebody would just come home and tell you stories, bed warmer, among many others, depending on the particular roles normally that were performed by the deceased. So as a survivor, you may resent having to develop new skills. For example, if you are a man and you lost your spouse or your wife, you may actually resent learning how to cook, learning how to take care of the children at that moment because of the pain you're feeling. But actually, when you learn these roles, you feel much happy and much better. So you will need to adjust to live your life and actually do everything that is necessary and is expected of you, even though they were previously done by the deceased. Now, the coping strategy of redefining the loss in such a way that it can benefit you, the survivor, is often part of the successful completion of this task. You need to reach that time where you redefine the loss so that you say, okay, she went, but I'm happy I can also cook. I learned how to cook. I can take care of my children. Something like that. You need to reach that time where you can redefine this loss so that you don't remain totally confused and almost lost. Making sense of the loss and finding benefit in the loss are two dimensions of meaning making after the loss, and this really takes time. But with time, you realize that you need to find that kind of benefit. You need to be positive about learning the new skills. If the person was the one dropping the children to school and now it's you'll have to learn it, but give yourself time. And also there are internal adjustments which relates to the sense of self, not merely seeing you as a widow, orphan, bereaved parents, etc. Death affects really our self-esteem, the definition of ourself, and the sense of our self-efficacy. You need to reach that time where you stop seeing yourself as a half the diseased, but as a really human being who is doing your best to live your life the way you are meant to live it. People would say, I am not sure whether anybody else will love me again like this person loved me. But you see, now you can see somebody is talking from a sense of damaged self-esteem, and this is one of the internal adjustments that the bereaved or the survivor needs to make. Um, it can also affect the degree to which one feels that you have some control over what happens to you. You just feel helpless. I talked about that. You feel frustrated. There is nothing you could do to prevent the death of your loved one. So you would feel like you've lost all control. That's why it is important in that period just to have something that you can, when you have gained some kind of courage, some kind of sense, some kind of, like, you feel now your life makes meaning and it's worth it to live, you need to find something like you can feel your control over, even if it is just your wardrobe, just organizing your wardrobe as that. With time, negative images give way to positive ones, and the survivor learns to carry on with their tasks and new ways of dealing with this world with time. So if you're caring for this person, know that with time they will be able to carry on their tasks. But before that, please be patient, be kind, be understanding. There are also spiritual adjustments. We said these ones refer to your beliefs, to your morals, to your assumptions of the world and God. And you know, with death challenges our faith. We usually ask God, were you there? Like, did you hear my prayer when I prayed for my person to live, to survive? Like, really, death, the thought of death, the thing of death, like, when death has occurred, usually our faith in God is challenged, but not to everybody, to some, like how mine was. My faith was really challenged. I asked God why. I prayed to you, like, why did you let this happen? And actually, that is the question in almost every mourner or every bereaved, like, why did God allow this to happen? And really, some people can believe that they must be very bad or very bad sinners for God to allow that to happen, and actually God could be punishing them, just like how I questioned God, is there any sin that I did not apologize for? Like, why did you let this happen? And I believe I'm not alone. So actually, for many, the answer is not clear up to now. I don't know why, but that is not the question I'm now asking. The point is not in finding the answer, but the thing is in learning to live without one. I don't know, like, honestly, I don't know why this had to happen, but that is the question I'm asking anymore. Like, I'm just trying to ask for grace. Okay, you allowed this to happen for your reasons, but help me live beyond this. Let this not take me away from you, or let this not shake my faith. And others can pray many other things or many other prayers, but not all death really challenge one's beliefs. Now, for example, if the death was of a person who has lived their lives and they have really grown old, really, you somehow death was expected. So this is not something that can challenge your faith in God. But in this task of spiritual adjustment, people work against themselves by promoting their helplessness, not developing skills you need to cope, or withdrawing from the world and not facing up to your environmental requirements. Now, if the pain is still fresh, is still there, that is okay, it's understandable. But if it goes on for a long time and you just refuse to adjust, to understand, to accept that that person is gone and they're not coming back, I'm sorry to remind you that again, but it's the reality. You're just working against yourself by promoting that helplessness. Yet you yourself, you remain as a whole human being who can do much better, either by taking on the tasks that disease used to do, or actually by learning new skills on how to survive in this world. Failing at this task results in failure to adapt to the loss. And that John Bowlby I told you about, the one who came up with attachment theory, also sums it up here by saying how one achieves this task turns the outcome of his morning, either progress towards the recognition of his changed circumstance, a revision or redefinition of his goals in life, or a state of suspended growth in which the person is held prisoner by a dilemma he cannot solve. Now, there are people who have lost their loved ones, and many years later, like 10 years or more, they are still saying they cannot do anything, they cannot achieve anything because they are orphans. You know, I've heard such stories, like somebody says at 30 years or more, when the parent died, like when they were when they were still children, and they say they are the way they are because they are orphans. They don't have children. They don't have parents. But you see, at that age, somebody is expected to have learned new skills, to actually learn that yes, their parents died, but they remained as full human beings who are able to learn skills and learn how to cope in an environment without the deceased. And I wish and I pray that you reach that stage soon. Now, the last task is to embark or to start on a new life while maintaining a connection to the deceased. You need to reach that point where you start or you embark on a new life while still maintaining a connection to the deceased. How? You can never forget that person who died was so much valuable to you, and you can never forget that you lost someone. That pain will be there, but the intensity of it now goes on decreasing with time. You need to find an appropriate place for the dead in your emotional life, a place that will enable you or enable me also to go on living effectively in the life. I need to have this place for my mother in my heart, yes, but I also need, really, this is not easy to tell you, but I have to tell you that even though I have to keep a place for my mother in my heart, with that much pain that I lost her at an early age, when she had not enjoyed anything of her fruits towards me or towards us, her children, but still we need to learn to live without her. We need to learn that life is actually still open to us, and actually there are other things that can bring us pleasure. For example, there are other people to love and to be loved. Like if you lost a spouse, you need to reach that moment where you feel like actually there are other people to be loved, there are other children. If you lost a child and you feel nobody can replace that person, of course, yes, nobody can replace that person, but there are other children to be loved, just in case you need to do that. So you don't have to get stuck at this point and then later realize that your life stopped growing or your life stopped actually at the time of death. You need to get over that. Emotional wisdom from the dead and reinvestment and realizing that there are other people to love and to be loved will just help you to get over this. I am not meaning you'll get over the pain, it will not be there. No, you will still know that you lost your person, but however, life has to continue. And these tasks can be on and off, like they can be worked through and through. You can today, for example, accept, and then tomorrow you still struggle with the thought that your disease is gone. But when that comes again, you redo the process, you start restructuring, trying to confront the thoughts you're having. So you'll have to work through it time and again, just in case it's not going as like from one to the other. So when is morning finished? Is there a time when I can reach and say I'm done with morning? What answer do you expect from me? I can't tell you that you reach that time and you will completely forget. I've already said that. But however, when you've gone through these tasks, When you have reached that point where you feel that there is more to life than the loss you experienced, you can actually learn to live and enjoy your life, and you'll be happy thereafter. Not forgetting or not saying that you no longer love the person who died. You love them a lot. Actually, you miss them the more, but you are actually able to find pleasure in life. You may feel sad as before, but without these physical and emotional reactions. Like, for example, when by the time I started even talking about her was enough to put me off. I never wanted anybody who came and asked me what happened. I just wanted, if you came and visited me, you just talk about other things, just don't ask me about my mom. And really talking about her would make me really bad and make me cry and break down. But you see, today I can talk about her and I actually don't break. It doesn't mean that I'm healed, but I am better. I am working through these emotions, and I am no longer at the other stage where I was still numb. So with time, you'll also learn to reinvest your emotions into life and into living. Sigmund Freud is one of the best, actually, the earlier psychologists. Actually, I love this man. I am a disciple. He said, we find a place for what we lose. Although we know that after such a loss, the acute stages of mourning will subside. We also know that we shall remain inconsolable, and we will never find a substitute. I can't promise you that you will find a substitute. Even if you lost a spouse and you marry again, that spouse would be a different individual. They will never substitute or replace the other one. Okay, the other one will still remain special in your heart. You'll have those memories and they will be there. But no matter what may fill the gap, even if it filled it completely, it nevertheless remains something else. That's what I'm saying. I can't tell you that if you have lost a child, when you give birth to another, you will forget the other. Even if you have other children, 10, the other child will still have that special place in your heart, and actually you'll ever miss them. But however, if you can reach that point where you miss them, you talk about them, but without these emotional and physical reactions I've talked about, like crying, that fainting, like coldness in the stomach, then we shall say you are actually getting better. So now, what can you do to feel better? I've said that this mourning process, actually this mourning is a process, and it may take time depending on an individual. So someone will ask me, like, am I going to continue suffering for this? Like, am I going to feel this way for all that period that I may spend in mourning? What am I supposed to do then that can help? Now, I just want to tell you, depending on an individual, depending on a person, depending on the factors, depending on very many, like who you are and who that person was to you, there are different things. Like, what can work for me may not work for you, and what work for you or worked for you or can work for you may not actually work for me, because we are different. But however, in a list of all these things, you can try to find out what can work for you. If one works, then go with that. If it doesn't, choose another one, or also develop your own what list. Now, the first thing I'm here to tell you is have assurance. And this is why I'm here, to give you assurance that actually your symptoms are not too dangerous to your health, and they will soon be over. Soon, I don't mean in 1 month or 2 months. It may take 2 or 3 years, but they will be over. I'm giving you this assurance that the symptoms you're facing, they will soon get over. I'm not meaning over, your person will come back. No, but the pain will a bit reduce, at least. What else? Work in therapy. Even if that work is just part-time or volunteer basis, that structure of waking up and you have to bathe and you, now I'm not meaning immediately after this you start on this, but with time, when you feel you're able, because in the first month and I think the second one, I was not able to do anything. But for those times where I had a really pressing order where it was needed urgently. Those days when I had to wake up, of course forcing myself, not that I wanted, but forcing myself to wake up and do something on my machine. Actually, I spent that day not thinking about this whole situation, and I'd actually at least sleep for some good hours. So if you can find anything to do, any kind of work, if you are somebody to do with the church, or you're a pastor, you can go back and preach, or you can do a little bit, encourage someone, or you can consider cleaning, that whatever you can find to do and it can help you is okay at that moment. I've just told you that for those days when I had some work to do, like on my machine, in order to deliver, I spent that day better concentrating on my work and actually not thinking about the situation, and actually I would sleep for some good hours. If you can socialize, you know, this whole process like makes you feel you don't want anybody around you, like for some, actually, like if you are able to have people around you, it is a blessing. But there are those who will be around you and they actually make your life worse, like by stressing you, they feel they don't understand you. So for such person, for me to have somebody who is not understanding what I'm going through, and every time I have to keep explaining to them, please, 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 I better stay alone. But all I'm saying is socializing is good, because at least keeping people around you, you're not going to be so alone where you're going to keep on thinking. But however, when the emotions come, please deal with them, don't hide away from them. But keeping people around you will actually is the process. Organizing, you know, when life threatens to overwhelm you, it feels good to be in control over something. I've already talked about that even if it is just as small as organizing your room, organizing your wardrobe, or anything, just be in control of something. Food is the therapy. Now, at that moment, of course, there is that process of disorganization, that phase of disorganization and despair, where I said you might have eating and sleeping problems. But it is important for you to nourish your body. You don't have to eat a lot, like a full plate of food, but at least eating a fruit, eating some protein, trying to have a balanced diet or proper nutrition. But if you're a person who is alone, sorry, don't allow to eat alone. Don't be in your room. Don't say they bring the food in my room. Try to go to the table and have other people eat with you, like have that meal time as a social gathering, where, like, because others are eating, you find yourself eating also. There are times where I would just count spoons of food, so that I say if I can make 5, then I'm good to go. If I can make 10, then I'm good to go. But usually when there was another person with me, I would find that you're eating maybe as you're chatting, or you're looking at another person, and you find actually you've eaten some good food. You can also consider engaging in religious activities and you enjoy. I was very glad when I saw my brother on stage sing, like they had gone out to sing as their choir. And like that was almost a month after that. I felt good because he was able to do that. Me personally, I was not. But actually, him going out to do what he liked doing before, like singing, actually, one, it gives you a chance to be with people, and then it helps you process those emotions. Instead of keeping in a room, you can consider religious activities. I thank God that actually after 2 months after burial, 2 months after burial, there was a week of prayer at my church, Mount Olives Nalia SDA, and actually it helped me a lot. The many questions I had, every time the preacher would come, they would be like they had just come to encourage me. So I found courage in that, and I kept moving the entire day, just waiting what is the preacher having for me today. So it's important, if you have any religious activity that you enjoy, you can consider, even if it is small, but at least even if it is just going to church and you'll be there for one day or just for a few hours, if it's listening to that music that you like, if it's like making a small sermon to your family, whatever religious activity that you enjoy. You can also consider writing if you are a writer, putting your thoughts and feelings into words. For example, the things you liked about the deceased, the things you didn't like, or the things you would wish to tell him or her, or actually you can also write telling yourself in their tone, like if you were in their shoes, what would you have wanted to tell you yourself? Like, if for example, if mom was here, what kind of letter would she have written to me? So if I sit down while in her mind trying to think as her and then writing it to myself, I am processing this pain. I remember after in my third week after burial, I felt like everything was overwhelming me, and I went back to my book, The Emotional Orphan, and I actually wrote another video. I wrote another chapter, and I called it As If That Was Not Enough. And I wrote everything about that day's experience, how I'm feeling, how, you know, that thing helped me. Like after that writing, I fell asleep and I slept for some good hours. So if you are a writer, you can consider writing. And even if you're not, this is a skill you can learn. You just write a few sentences here and there. Before you know it, you're in a paragraph, and before you know it, you're on a page, and before you know it, anything. I cannot tell you to write a book if you're not into that, but at least keep writing. Keep writing. You can write to yourself. You can write about anything you liked about that disease, or anything you would wish to tell them, as long as it can help you. You can also consider art. If you are this kind of artist, you can consider drawing, you can consider poetry, you can consider composing songs if you're in that field. Anything that can make you better. You can consider learning a new skill or something new to boost your self-esteem. You can consider reading. Now, reading may not really be comfortable with you. For example, at the beginning, you may even struggle to read a sentence. You may even struggle to read a paragraph. I am a person who loves reading. I actually read every day, morning and evening, and even during the day when I happen to have some time. But at that moment, even reading one verse and I finish it, I would read words and rest. But then with time, I found myself reading at least 2 verses. Then I started reading a chapter, and before I knew it, I had started again reading my books, my favorite books I wanted to read. But however, with this, because you're not reading as like a person who is enjoying reading, usually you can only choose your favorite topics and you start with that. Like I remember I found this book, The Desire of Ages, and I actually went on picking the best the best topics that were of interest to me, and I would read that, and tomorrow I find another interesting topic, and another day I find another interesting topic. So like that, you can consider online games, you can consider watching cartoons and comedy, sitting in the sun, taking a warm long shower. You can consider talking to a therapist. Now, this is one of the things that really have helped me when I saw life was overwhelming, like I wasn't understanding anything, I was not able to move on. I had to find courage and call a therapist, my therapist, and I actually had a session with her, and we actually went on for many others, and I actually felt better. And I think after that, like even when the lockdown came in and I was not able to meet her, like the words she had told me before, the things we had discussed kept on coming back to me, and I would say, so what would she have told me here? And that's how I would replay them again in my mind, and I was actually able to improve. So I really love you, my dear therapist, Madam Ruth Matoya. May really God bless you abundantly, more than you can imagine. So if you're there and you're also finding it very hard to move on, or to function in your life as you used to be, and it is taking you long, please consider calling a therapist. Now, my very final point I want to tell you is prayer. And by ending with this, it's not that it is the least. Actually, it's what I would have started with, but I wanted to explain to you something. Prayer is therapy, and prayer works. If there is anything that can help you, I know at the beginning you could be challenged and you feel like God has deserted you, but if you could find the courage, actually, when you feel you really that it is very much hard for you to trust God again, please whisper a prayer to God, because the pain is just overwhelming. Let me tell you, the pain is too much, and there is only one person who can help you with that pain, and that is God Himself, because He allowed this situation to happen when He knew that you could manage this. So please, prayer is important. There are those verses I kept on reading. For example, I would quote promises like God said that I will take away the tears from your eyes and fill your heart with joy and gladness. Like I would keep there when I feel it is too much, and I say, God, you promised you're going to fill my heart with gladness and joy. Please do it. And actually, I would feel better. But one thing I want to tell you about prayer. When the lockdown started, of course, I was still seeing a therapist, but something bad really happened. That the therapist I was seeing, I've already told you about her. She also had another problem and actually lost a mother too. And I really got into panic. I knew professionally what that meant, and I knew it would really take us time for her to settle, and again we have anything more about this. So I asked, what is it? I remember I called a friend of mine, and she told me, no, Maggie, you don't have to panic. God will provide, but also God is there. And then I remembered that actually we have God, Jesus Christ, the wonderful counselor. And I invited my friend, Rachel. Rachel came and we had a week of prayer. We prayed every day, but we pray in a way that I would pray for her and she prays for me, because at that moment I didn't know even what to say to God about myself. But at least I could find words to pray for my friend, because she had told me I need this and that. And so I would pray for her and she prays for me. But by the second week of that week of prayer, by the second day of that week of prayer, I was able to sleep again the whole night. Like I would go to bed at 10 in the night, 10 p.m., and I actually wake up at 6 or at 7. So it really helped me. And by the time the week of prayer ended, I was feeling a piece of calmness. I was really feeling like nothing had happened. I was feeling so calm and peaceful. And actually, I've not felt worse. I've not had any other panic attacks since then. So if there is anything that works, there is prayer. Pray. When you feel you can't pray anymore, please invite someone else to pray for you. Call that friend, ask them, please pray. Call that pastor friend of yours, ask them to pray. Call that person that you feel you can share with and ask them to pray. Because even in therapy, my therapist used to tell me, I'm praying for you. Even I think the last time I had a panic attack and I called her and she was not able to attend to me, but still she made me recite Psalms 121. That was prayer, and actually after that we prayed and I slept. So if there is anything that can help you with grief, is prayer. God is there. I know you may not believe it, but He is with you and He still loves you and He understands what you're going through. So you are also free to come up with your list, but those are some of the things that have helped me myself to go through this. And I actually cannot say that I've gotten it over, but I feel better. I'm no longer so they are confused. Like at least I can do a few things, and that's why I am even able to make this video to you, to share with you. Of course, I'm celebrating the life of my mother, but still I thank God that even I am able to do this. So I really love you. I pray that God will be with you. I pray that journey will be shorter. But in case you feel overwhelmed, remember you can make that call either to a friend, to a pastor, to anybody. But also you have a wonderful counselor who is God Himself. You can make that call through prayer and He will attend to you. So I really wish you well. If need be, I'll tell you about helping children. But for now, that is all. I love you. Just have this assurance that even though the pain is too deep and too much, it will still get over. I love you. Bye-bye.